Good morning, everybody. It is Melissa Johnson speaking, the Principal Psychologist and the Director at Thriving Mind Psychology Clinic, located here on the beautiful Sunshine Coast. Welcome to vlog number 29 of the 90-day vlog challenge. And today, as promised, I'm going to talk about getting off track and staying off track with our goals. And I'm going to use the specific examples of diet and exercise because I think they're probably the most relatable, some of the most relatable goals that most of us have probably tried to set or have successfully set and accomplished over time. I'm going to do that in the context of this unhelpful thinking, that inner critical voice that we've been talking about over the last couple of days. So why is it that when we set a goal such as improving our diet or setting up some exercise, why is it that it's so hard to firstly even stick to it? So why is it that it's so easy to fall off or to get off of the track in the first place? And there's generally a few reasons why, but one of the main contributing factors in getting off track is generally that unhelpful mind. So if you remember, I've talked a lot about how our mind can be actually quite unhelpful and it can come up with lots of excuses why we shouldn't do something. And you'll know that previously I have spoken about Mel Robbins and the 5-second rule. And Mel Robbins talks a lot about not hitting the snooze button. And the reason why she says this is because in the 5 minutes or the 7 minutes, however long your snooze button takes to go off, our mind can come up with about 101 different excuses as to why we shouldn't get out of bed, okay? So in that interim, you've given yourself 5 to 7 minutes of coming up with so many ideas of why you shouldn't get up and go for that run or walk or shouldn't get up and do some work. And we spend too much time listening into that and we've hesitated. So that is one of the reasons why we originally get off track, that our mind comes up with far too many excuses of why we shouldn't get up. It's too hot, it's too cold, I'm too tired, the kids woke up too many times during the night, I'm better off just having a sleep in, I'm too busy, or that inner self-critic of why bother, who cares about being healthy, is it really worth it, does it really matter, I'll start next week. Okay, so there's lots of unhelpful mind chatter that really helps to contribute to actually falling off track in the first place. So why is our mind so unhelpful? The main reason for this is, if you remember when we talked about fight and flight, our mind, our brain is wired to protect you. It is wired to stop you from engaging in anything that is new, uncomfortable, might be a little bit difficult, it might be unfamiliar. So if you think of anything when we're changing our habits or our behavior, like we might be changing our diet, we might be increasing our exercising or starting our exercising. Sorry about the background noise. Our mind is actually going to try and stop us from doing that because it's unfamiliar, it's new, it's scary, it might be uncomfortable, it might be difficult. And our brain doesn't like that. The brain likes to keep us in this safe comfort zone. It doesn't want you to do anything new or do anything that might be outside the ordinary because that could be unsafe. It's trying to protect us from threats. However, actually that's not that helpful because we need to change our behavior. We need to do other things. So that is why the mind is actually quite unhelpful and comes up with so many excuses to prevent us from taking steps to making behavioral change. It's trying to keep you in your little comfort zone to keep you safe and secure. So the first step is to be mindful of that and be mindful of the fact that your mind is probably trying to come up with lots of excuses to keep you safe. And you need to be mindful of, just because we think it doesn't mean that it's the truth, okay? So our thoughts are not always the truth, our mind is not always being that helpful, it's just trying to protect you and stop you from doing something new and unfamiliar and a little bit scary. So that is the first part of why we might fall off track in the first place, why we might not get up and go for that run, why we might not stay on track with our healthy eating patterns. The second step of, once we're off track, staying off track, this is actually the bigger problem sometimes. So if we use the example of someone who has set a goal around wanting to create change in their eating behaviours and they want to eat healthily. And if they set that rule, remember we talked about the way we state our rules quite rigidly, so I must eat healthy for the rest of the week. Starting today, that's it. There's no more sugar, there's no more this, there's no more that. I'm not having coffee, I'm not doing this. I'll only eat healthy foods forever. What happens is when we fall off track, if we fall off track, there's other unhelpful mind and unhelpful thought patterns start to kick in. So that mental filter, we focus on that one time where we ate that Tim Tam and we forget to look at the bigger picture, how actually we haven't done that. We've been quite on track and doing quite well for the last week. We start catastrophizing. It's going to be dreadful, awful. I'm a failure. I can never get this right. I'm never going to be successful at this. And then it's this, I may as well just give up. I've screwed up now. I've eaten a Tim Tam. I may as well just eat the whole packet. And then you eat the whole packet. And then it'll be, oh, well, I may as well start tomorrow. I may as well start next week. And then all of a sudden we're engaging in these unhelpful and unhealthy eating behaviours again. Because now we're binging it because we're like, oh, I can eat as much as I want because I'll start next week. I'll worry about it next week. That is a huge, not only did you fall off the track, but we're way off of track. Okay? So our mind, first of all, gave us too many excuses of why we shouldn't do it or why we should eat that Tim Tam. And then it kept us off track by catastrophizing, filtering in, and these very rigid I should, I must, I always types of thought patterns then help to maintain staying off track. Same with, let's say your goal was to exercise, let's say 3 days a week for 1 hour. You wanted to run for three days a week for 1 hour. What happens when we don't actually get up to do that first run? Well, we've fallen off track. Then our mind focuses in on that and tells us that, we're useless, that we can never get it right, that we may as well not worry about the rest of the week. So this is the catch, right? We miss one session and all of a sudden we may as well just wipe out the whole week and not bother. Start next week. And then it's the next week. And then it's the next month, okay? And tomorrow never comes. So this is the problem. Not only do we fall off track, but then we just use this massive blanket rule where I've screwed up once, so I may as well just wipe out the whole week and don't bother. Try again another week. Be mindful of that because that is where the problem lies. Remember, just because we're thinking it doesn't mean it's the truth. We're just focusing in on that one small, time when we had the Tim Tam or the one session that we miss, rather than taking that bigger picture approach and looking at the bigger picture. How many other times did we exercise? How many other times did we not eat the Tim Tam? How many other times have we eaten healthy this week? And looking at it as a whole. The other way that's quite helpful is looking at it long term. Actually have a think about what will it feel like when I achieve my goal? How will I feel when I'm running that marathon? How will I feel when I can run really comfortably for an hour every day? How will I feel when I will be able to fit into those clothes? What will that look like? How will that feel? And really visualizing that can be quite helpful to staying on track. One of my colleagues, Michaela, all the way from London, who is also a psychologist, to use her words, she said, and this is not a direct quote, forgive me, Michaela, if I've got this wrong, but that which does not bend breaks. Okay, so I'll say that again. That which does not bend breaks. What does that mean? It means if we're not flexible in our goals, if we're not flexible in our cognitions and our thinking, then it breaks. Yeah? So it's really important to take on that cognitive flexibility approach and be really flexible with our goals. Yes, okay, it would have been nice if I had done all 3 runs this week, but that's okay. I did 2 out of 3. That's fine. In the bigger picture, in 20 years' time, it's probably not going to matter if you miss that one session, but it is going to matter if it has that follow-on effect where you then wipe out the whole week or the whole month or the year. Same with the Tim Tam. In the big grand scheme of things, it's probably not going to matter if you ate 1 Tim Tam. But it becomes the bigger problem when you eat packet after packet after packet and keep saying, I'll start next week. So being flexible in your approach, it might be that day you don't actually want to run. You prefer to go for a walk or do yoga or do swimming or something like that. And that's okay. And it doesn't have to be at that set time. If you do it at a different time of the day, that is okay too. So being flexible about your approach will help you stay on track and then hopefully achieve your goals. So being okay with the fact that sometimes things are not going to go well, sometimes you're going to fall on track and the most off track, and the most important thing is to be flexible, to be okay with that, and to learn from it and to move past that and just move on to the next day, the next hour. Okay? So that is it for me today. I hope you found that helpful. If you have, please do like or love, and of course feel free to share if you know someone who might be interested. Until then, I will see you tomorrow, but don't forget there's never been a better day than today to take the steps to having your thriving mind and your thriving life. Bye for now.